Hi, today I'm going to show you my water-cooled computer. So it all starts with Swiftech MCP 600 pump. Let's see if we can focus on this. So it's a 10 watt 12 DC pump, 700 liters per hour or 185 gallons per hour pump, and the maximum pressure is 10.5 feet. That's how many feet, or 3.2 meters, how many feet, how high of a column of water this pump can create, basically defeating the gravity, pushing the water up the tubing. So this is pretty high for a computer water cooling system. It's a really nice pump. I got that off eBay for, I believe, 40 bucks. When I got it, it was all plugged up with algae and didn't really work. So I took it apart, just take those 4 screws out, and there's a ball bearing, ceramic ball bearing inside with the impeller, and I just cleaned it up with some rubbing alcohol, and it's like new now. So the pump pumps the water into one of the 2 Swiftech radiators. The radiators are triple 120 millimeter fan radiators, but I'm not using any fans here because I'm using kind of non-traditional setup. So the water comes in here and goes through the radiator, comes out, and then it goes into a chipset water block right here. And this chipset water block is made by Bits Power, and the model number is AIX58NS. And this is Asus P60 Deluxe version 2 board. Then the water goes into a smaller water block here that cools the MOSFETs, and there is a second one on top. Then it comes out, goes into the second radiator, comes out of the second radiator, goes into the CPU, and this is a Swiftech Apogee XT water block, and it's replacing a Zalman GW5, I believe that's the model number. The reason why I replaced it because of the inlet size. The inlets are non-standard, looks like 1/4 inch. It's designed to fit 1/4 inch or 5/16 or 3/8 tubing, but the inner hole is, I believe, just over 1/4 inch, and the thread of the actual water block is non-standard. So this is a standard thread barb fitting, and it just doesn't fit. So it's the thread inside the water block is a little bit smaller. So that's why I'm replacing it. It just creates a pressure drop in the system. The water block construction itself is alright, but the inlets are very restrictive, so it's being taken out. Then the water comes out of the CPU, and normally the next step would be to go into the video card water block, but I don't have anything right now because I just bought a new video card, and it's going to be a brand new GTX 570, and I'll get the water block for it later. So the next step would be to go into the hard drives, and I have 4 hard drives right now, RAID 10. Each one is Western Digital Blue running RAID 10, 500 gigs. The hard drives are being taken out of the loop temporarily because of 1/4 inch tubing, which again creates a big pressure drop. So I'm going to rewire them, so to speak, or replumb them with this little copper T connectors, so the water comes into all 4 on one side, comes out of all 4 on the other side, because right now they're all in series. So next step would be this filter. This is just a normal standard garden hose filter you can get from hardware stores, and this top part unscrews. This here is designed for a 1/2 inch, I believe, hose, but you can force 5/16 or 3/8 hose onto it if you really wanted to. So, and inside I have a fine mesh nylon filter, or nylon mesh filter, and this traps all the metal shavings that corrode off the different components in the system, as well as little patches of algae and other garbage that gets introduced in the system or other chunks of bacteria that grow. Then the water goes from this filter into this, I believe it's a Swiftech reservoir. It's just on top of the case here for filling the system and for topping it up, and that's it. So this is the CPU is Intel Core i7, and it's running at stock frequency. It's i920, and I can overclock it to about 3.8 and still have below 40 centigrade temperatures in the system. At stock clock, if I run Battlefield Bad Company 2 with highest resolution with the old GTX 260 video card, this whole setup runs about 5 centigrade above ambient temperature. This whole system is cooled with this one single fan, did not count in the power supply fan, and this is I believe a 140 millimeter fan from some kind of electronics equipment. I got this from a surplus store for 10 bucks or so, and the fan is being ran through a PWM board to control the speed. This is Zalman inline speed controller from an old water cooling system, and it runs about 900 RPM and produces about 40 decibel sound pressure noise, so it's relatively quiet. And that's pretty much it. All the tubing is the tubing that came with a hard drive water block. So each one came with about, I'd say, 5 or 6 feet of tubing or so. So it was pretty generous of the manufacturer include all that tubing. The radiators are made out of brass. So the fan blows the air inside the case. It cools all the components that are not being actively cooled, like or the chips that don't have heat sinks, and then the air escapes through the radiator out of the case. So this way I cool all the microchips on the board that are not actively cooled, and as well as cool the water inside the radiators. And that's the demo of my setup.